We are live. Hi, I'm John Jerkowitz. Welcome to the Career Corner. It is Thursday, April 23rd, 2015, and thanks for joining us wherever you are. If you follow me, if you've watched me for a while, you know I always get excited and I always enjoy the guests I have on the Career Corner. But I'm even a little more excited today because I know this may be hard for some of you to understand. I know literally nothing about what my guest is going to be talking about. Maybe we need to take a minute for all of you to catch your breath to understand that I literally know nothing about this. So I'm going to be as interested in what Tina has to tell us today as you are. So Tina Falk, welcome.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, briefly, I'm a mother of two, an 18 and a 12-year-old, and I've been married for 27 years. Moved around quite a bit, and I'm now living in Salt Lake City, Utah, in the area a little bit. And it's such a diverse culture here. And I really my spiritual world and my journey way opened up and expanded when I moved here 20 years ago. Not like I was anticipating. We chose Utah to come here to raise a family because we figured they'd have good moral values and it would be a great place to raise kids. But the people that I've been connecting with and masters that I've studied under have just shifted my life in a way that, I could not get enough. And so I'm here. My background, I also went to art school, and so I have a degree in graphic design. And I've been doing that since 1990. And so I've been running my own business, and I've got really big companies that I work for. And then I've got, startups that I work for. So that will always be a part of my life. And that was a really easy transition for me to get into Feng Shui.
What is Feng Shui? I mean, I kiddingly tell people that up until I met you, I thought it was an appetizer listing on an Asian restaurant menu. What is Feng Shui?
Oh, that's a good question. Often my answer to that, it differs depending on who's asking the question. To me, it's really as simple as it can be is cause and effect. That everything that we do is going to have an effect, that ripple effect. And, it's what's happening internally. Often we project outwardly into our space. If our mind is cluttered and we're not sure of ourselves and, our hearts are hurting, we're going to try to recreate that in our environment to say, this is what's happening as a clue for us. And we need to take these visual clues, very well to make sure that we're doing something to heal the inside. And oftentimes what we do is we create this outward space because of what's going on in here, but then it keeps us stuck, because it keeps reflecting what's going on in the inside. So what we do with Feng Shui then is we look, we visualize, and we intuit then what needs to happen out here. What's going on out here so that I can see what's going on in here for my client or this client's family or their relationship or their struggle, because it's going to show out here. I can just start asking questions based on what I see. Go here, see what's happening here, and then start making adjustments so that the two can come back into alignment in a way that's supportive for you, that's healing for you, that opens communication.
Wow. Thank you. Because, I think to most people, when you talk about Feng Shui, it's moving grandpa's recliner underneath the windows so he gets better airflow and he's happier, or that you set the room up so it's aligned with the planets. And I almost had to remember I was hosting this show because I was listening so carefully to what you were talking about. Tina, how did you get involved with this process?
I was saying before, I've met some really inspiring people, and I've studied different kinds of modalities. And I had the pleasure several years ago to study under a Buddhist master, learning the 5 elements, the Chinese 5 elements: metal, water, wood, fire, and earth. And for 4 years, it was rigorous training. He tested us. He would, lock us in his home with no, air conditioning, windows closed. It was 100 degrees outside just to test us. And he would challenge us. And he taught us to see with the 5 elements and to heal with these 5 elements. And so that training, in conjunction with, some Reiki training that I've had, understanding chakra systems and numerology, and how all these different modalities are just a way to interpret energy. And to me, that's what Feng Shui is. It's another way to interpret a space, or to interpret the energy of what's going on, or the mood. So when for years I had considered doing Feng Shui. And, at the time here in Utah, it just, there was nobody close by. It was thousands of dollars to travel to one of the coasts to study Feng Shui. And one day I just happened to go to a Feng Shui workshop. I was the only person that showed up. And I was so glad. I kind of felt bad for the practitioner that was teaching, but I was so glad because I knew I could get all my questions answered. And she kept referring to her Feng Shui master, who lives here in the valley. And so I asked her, I said, do you mind if I look her up? And she said, no, not at all. So I called this woman, and her name is Mary Shirtliff. She's my Feng Shui master. I called her up. She says, well, come by my house. I want you to pick up my book. Let's chat for a little bit. So I went by her house, and we were sitting in her living room, and she started asking me my birth information. I had no idea what she was doing. Well, there's Chinese astrology, which is a huge part of what I do. So she was wanting to pull my chart and everything in preparation for the class. Well, she had asked me, where were you born? Because that's part of the longitude, latitude coordinates that we need to know. And I said, well, I was born in a small town in Newcastle, Wyoming. Most people have never heard of Newcastle. Well, she just froze. And she said, Newcastle, Wyoming. And I said, yeah. Well, my dad is from Upton, and my mom is from Sundance, neighboring communities. Sundance is where Devil's Tower is. And she said, who is your dad? And I said, Greg Falk. Oh my gosh, I wanted to marry your dad.
Wow.
Yeah. She had grown up in Upton, Wyoming with my dad. And as we were talking, she was telling me when she was 12, she worked for my grandmother in the newspaper. My grandparents owned the newspaper for the Upton County Gazette. She used to work for my grandmother. And she said that my grandmother was her first mentor, teaching her how to be a strong woman and how to work for yourself. And she said, I can remember one day your dad came in. He's so handsome, and he came in with this beautiful woman, and they're holding this baby. I said, Mary, that was me. So we had met 40 years prior to this, and this was in 2006. And so Mary took me under her wing, and I kept asking questions, and she kept giving me information.
That's absolutely amazing. One thing I want to tell our viewers before we go any further that I just noticed is that Tina's in her husband's office. So when you look at her snapshot in the film strip, and it says Douglas, okay?
Does it still say
yes, it has your husband's name there. And I just noticed that, so I thought I'd let our viewers know.
Thank you.
You're in the right hangout, okay?
Yes.
Don't worry. You're where you belong, okay? The lighting, some of the technical stuff was a lot better where she's broadcasting from, and she's on her husband's computer, so everybody just relax. Life will be okay. We hope. If that's the worst thing that ever goes wrong in a hangout, we got it made.
You bet.
Do you have a typical client? Or do people come to you from all walks of life, all ages?
I do seem to have a typical client, and they're usually women, in various ages, but usually women who, have families, or who are people who are transitioning. That's really when you're going to call a Feng Shui practitioner anyway. It's either when you're transitioning, or you need to shift some things and get things going. But for the most part, women. And I have a special place in my heart for children. And so whenever I can assist families, and it's not necessarily assisting the children, it's assisting the parents so that they can understand the children in this generation and what their needs are. That to me, I'll be right there in a heartbeat for you.
Question for you, just as you were talking, how much, okay, so let's say I call you and I say, hey, Tina, I really need some assistance. By the way, a little later on, I'm going to give you a preview. Tina wrote a wonderful posting the other day about the north corner of your office. So I took a photo of the north end of my office, and we're going to do a screen share a little later, and I'm going to ask her to talk about the north end of my office. What I've heard so far from her, I'm starting to wish I hadn't taken that photo of the north end of my office. But we'll see what happens. My wife did an OMG when I told her that, okay? You're talking about kids, and you were talking about how you have a special place for that. When I go through the Feng Shui process, is this something that's going to help my health too, my physical health?
Absolutely. There's how the compass or the bagua is another term for compass is laid out in Feng Shui. It's divided into all the 8 directions and then the center. And so each direction is kind of assigned a specific energy. So it might be your intimate relationships, your marriage and self-love. It might be your family. It might be your children, or even your career and life path, like the north sector you were just talking about. Your health is right in the center of your space. It's the center. If we're centered and balanced, then that's when we know we're going to be okay. But when we're off center, then things are going to go awry. And so, yes, health is a huge component of that. I know we haven't gone over yet, but there's 3 basic forms of Feng Shui kind of perspectives. One is the oldest school of Feng Shui, and that's landform. And so that's, really, we want to take a look at the property or the space that the home or the business is sitting on, how it relates to its neighbors, how it relates to other structures, whether it be mountains or man-made, in how the positioning, where it sits in the traffic pattern, where there's rivers or canals and that kind of thing. So that's the oldest form, over 4,000 years old. That originated when the Chinese were considering where do we bury our loved ones, so that their burial site is in a position that is protected. And that it's not, they're looking for ley lines to look how valleys and rivers are coming through so that it doesn't wipe out if there's a flood. It doesn't wipe out their burial. The second school of Feng Shui is classical or compass school. And it's over 3,000 years old. And that's a very scientific perspective. That's where the astrological aspects come in, the Chinese astrology, looking at flying star aspects, and certain planets and stars are going to fly. And so according to your health, there's going to be certain stars that are going to fly into, say, the health area of the home or of the country or of the world, because we can lay that compass on any space, even just this office that I'm in or just your office. So if an illness star flies into the center, we want to be aware of that so that we can mitigate that energy. These stars fly in a certain pattern, and so they're going to shift throughout the year and in different patterns. And that's, if one star stayed in one place for too long, then those people that had that energy there would just have kind of a sucky life. They'd be sick a lot. But it has to shift around, and that's why some of us have a better year than our friend. Like for me, this was a great year. Maybe for my friend, they couldn't wait for the year to get over. Mm-hmm. The third school of Feng Shui is BTB, or Black Hat School. And that's a newer version that was brought over and kind of specifically geared towards Westerners. And that's where we come up with what you were saying at the beginning about furniture placement or what colors we're going to paint. It's really about color theory, form and function. And this is also where prayers and intentions come in. So that whatever we do, we could do the simplest of things of, just like you said, moving grandpa's, chair over by the window, just the intention of moving that so that he's going to have a different perspective on life. Maybe he's going to be lined up to a direction that's more appropriate for him. But just those intentions that we're doing it for the betterment of grandpa is huge. If we shove grandpa over in the corner because we want him out of the way so that he's not bugging us, that's going to be a different intention. So it's about being really clear and honorable and respectful, not out of manipulation or control or judgment. It's just we're doing it for the best of everybody.
It's really fascinating. Follow-up question for you.
Sure.
And maybe I'm reading too much into this, okay? I know people that are continually moving stuff around in a room. Just they're never satisfied. You go into their office or you go visit them in their home, and the living room's different than it was 3 or 4 days earlier. Is there some, are they searching for something? Is there some meaning behind that continual rearrangement?
That's a really good question. If it was my friend or, a client, and they kept saying that they were moving furniture around, a lot of my job is to question, to ask, because I can pick up what's happening by the languaging that they're using. And I think you're right. At first glance, it would be, what are you searching for? You just haven't found your place yet in the world, or you haven't found the perspective that you're looking for. I kind of picked up on something when I was a teenager. It was just my mom and I, and she was working the graveyard shift and a second job. And I would find myself moving the furniture in the living room quite often. And a lot of it too was not just, having the furniture look different, but it was the physical movement of making change. There's something about moving and sliding the couch across the floor and then stepping over into a corner that you don't usually stand in to say, hey, that looks kind of cool that way. So it's the physical movement. It's the different perspective. It's now I can sit in the couch and I can see out this window. So it really does shift up the energy. And I can remember my mom coming home and, oh, wow, that looks cool. I would have never thought of that. So it was just shifting the energy, because as a 17 or 18-year-old, you want more control in your life. And there's certain things that you can't do. You want to be an adult and you want to be responsible, but you're still a kid. So that was kind of my way of kind of controlling my environment.
Fascinating. And I wrote this down before we got started because it was something that popped into my head. When I'm when I have to be in creative mode, okay, I will burn scented candles.
Okay.
I will listen to certain music. Okay, it plays in the background. It's usually a Zen sort of music that's kind of soothing, but at the same time, it just kind of allows me to focus. Are we drawn to those things?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the most fascinating people I've ever met, my dear friend Trina, she taught me that, we have this physical manifestation here, right? We have these physical bodies, and really the best tools that we have to kind of work with are our five senses. So to be able to activate, through hearing certain tones or certain patterns in rhythmic, patterning or notes, those are all just as important, and they're going to trigger certain energy centers in our body. Even the smells, some people like to, whether it's sipping tea or, got to have my Diet Coke or Rockstar or whatever, all those sensorial kind of influences on our body, they can trigger us so quickly. I mean, you know how quickly you hear a song on the radio and it takes you right back to when you were in high school. So those things trigger our subconscious to wake up or to pay attention. And so using the five senses to me is a huge component to it.
Okay, so I'm one of those people, let's say, that I'm in the eternal self-improvement mode. I always want to get a little bit better, a little bit better. And I agree with you that I think we have to find those things that relate to ourselves, that help us become creative and whole and everything. Is it just simply a matter of trial and error? Could you give us some tips as to how we can find those things for ourselves that kind of lead us on that path?
One of the most fascinating things I find when I go into somebody's home or to their business or meet them at Village Inn to look at their Chinese astrology chart is how intuitive everybody really is. And they're just not paying attention to it. And I am often telling people, try it out for a couple weeks, test it out, see how it feels, see what happens if you're out in the sun doing yard work all weekend long. What does that sun energy do to you? That's fire energy. That's a Chinese element. The sun is a very yang element. And does it exhaust you? Or does it rejuvenate you? Does it make you motivated and want to get things done? And does it make you creative? How do you feel when it's winter time and things are more dormant? Are you an active person and you like to get outdoors and ski? Or is that something where you just take advantage of that and you kind of go dormant too? So pay attention to all those things and test them out. Because we kind of live in a culture, especially with social media, I think, where we see somebody who's gone on a hike, or they've gone and, went to these outdoor concerts, and we think we've got to keep up with them or do them. But it's like, well, that doesn't really resonate with who I am. I would much rather just take a walk around the neighborhood, or, take a drive. So we have to do an experiment and find out what works for us. Just because a CD at the bookstore says this will help you think better, for some person, it might put them to sleep. So don't feel like you failed just because you didn't find that thing that, oh, well, everybody else is using this, but it's not working for me. Find what works for you, because we're so multidimensional and so unique. And I would always suggest use more than one sense, like you do, like with this, lighting some candles or putting some aromatherapy in a diffuser, and then putting some music on, even, bringing some more color in to activate the visual stuff.
Mm-hmm. Are there certain times of the day that we're more attuned to what's going on inside of us? And if so, how do we make that determination for ourselves?
That's going to be different for everybody. Some people, even before we had this interview, it's like, oh, I'm not a morning person. I can't meet you that time in the morning. Some of us, I get my second wind around 10 o'clock at night, and I'm up for a few hours. So it really is different for everybody. And to me, the part that I do of Feng Shui, the Chinese astrology part, that's going to reveal those things. It's going to reveal how your day goes, how your energy level rises and drops, even through a week or through a project or a relationship. And so looking at the Chinese astrology chart, it reveals so much about you. And then I can personalize Feng Shui for you or for your family, rather than just coming in and kind of generalizing and doing off of, going off of my intuition. I can really say, well, you specifically are really low on fire. So let's bring in some more fire energy to get you going in the morning. Open those blinds in the morning and let the sun in. Get that light underneath your rear end to get you moving. So it's very specific, but through the Chinese astrology chart, we can really unfold a lot of stuff.
If I come to you as a client and say, hey, I want to explore this, could you talk a little bit about what I can expect?
Sure. Like I said, the first thing I'm going to want to do is, why are you calling me? It's a little bit tougher when a client calls me just because they were referred, and a friend says, oh, you got to go, because maybe they're not ready yet. Maybe you're just kind of being motivated because your friend had a really good experience and she's excited. What will usually happen is that client will call me and we'll kind of talk about it and set a schedule, and then it won't happen because they're just not ready yet. But when somebody is ready, I want to know what's going on. Things are so quick these days. Things are constantly shifting, and dynamics are so extreme. And so when somebody calls me, where are you at in this world of duality that we live in, these highs and these lows? And then I always will pull a full 4-pillar astrology chart. Sometimes it's just to look at the basics, but I like to do the full reading. So I want to meet with you, preferably outside of your home, and do your astrology chart. It could be just you. I'd prefer to do everybody in the home or everybody in the office, because everybody is being influenced by the space and they're influencing the space. And so everybody kind of deserves to have that special kind of attention. So once we do the astrology charts, it's going to reveal your strengths and weaknesses in those 5 elements, because we all should have an equal amount of those 5 elements, so that life is the wheel is smooth, so we're not bottoming out and having highs and lows in our life. It's also going to show certain characteristics of the zodiac. There's 12 animals in the Chinese zodiac, and there's 4 animals actually in your chart. And so each one of those animals has specific characteristics, as well as it lives in certain directions of the space. So that is going to reveal those things to me. Plus, it's going to show things like family dynamics, relationship issues, karma, that kind of thing, kind of what to expect as we go down and overlay like what's happening this year with the Yinwood sheep year and what's happening last year as opposed to next year or whatever. Then when I look at that, then it's okay, let's make another appointment and we're going to walk through your space. Because by the time we walk through your space, you're going to have time to absorb all your charts, process that. I'll already give you some things that you can do and take home and do right away. And then when we get to your home, I like to walk through your space. I want to hear how you talk about your space. Do you walk into a space and are you frustrated? You just keep the door closed? Well, that room might be in your relationship sector, and you just keep the door closed because you don't want to deal with the mess that's in there. So is that a reflection of your relationships, your marriage, how you feel about yourself? Is the litter box in that room? What's happening in that space? I want to show you that each space is a reflection of that part of your life. It could be your health, it could be your family relationships, it could be your finances, what's going on. For instance, my finances are in the garage, and that's where we keep the garbage containers right outside there. It's all in that area. So I have to make sure that I'm very conscious about what I'm doing in that space so that it's not trashy and it's not just garbage, that I'm recycling. I'm doing things that are more on a positive note. So then I'm always going to make recommendations. I like to keep things simple and practical. There's times I would love, to say, well, let's tear this house down. A match and a can of gas will be the greatest Feng Shui cure we can have, but we have to be practical. There are some people that have, they've known that it's best that they move, that the house isn't suiting them, the location, that kind of thing, even a business. But I will always make suggestions, simple suggestions that we can make. It's baby steps because people are already overwhelmed. It's tough for people to sit down and, even pick up a book and read a book. But if you can get the family involved, I love it when I can read charts with the whole family so that the kids are involved and they get to know about themselves. Kids are so curious and we're such an external world. They're often looking outward to find who they are here. And so these charts are, I can say, well, these are your totem animals. These are your power animals. You might be a dragon and a monkey and a rooster and a horse. So these are cool power animals and they relate to these different parts of your life. And then I always want to follow up with people and stay connected and see. And people, sometimes they'll send me pictures. Hey, I did this. What do you think of this? I just did a chiropractor's office and, he wasn't sure about the artwork to place. So he would take pictures of different artwork and send them to me. And I love being a part of that. And I love that they trust me to want to do that for them.
I've just got so involved in what you were saying. Guys, I told you this was going to be different. Okay. You said, usually somebody will call you and then they call and cancel and it may take a couple times. And I think I answered my own question here, but is it fear? Are they just, because I'm sitting and thinking, I'm a pretty open person and, I throw my front door open and say, okay, Tina, come on in and walk around the house and I'll show you around here and everything else. And there's always going to be a part of me that might be going, what is she thinking about? Mm-hmm. Do you find that people, there's some fear and resistance there?
Oh, absolutely. Even though we can it's easy to sit and complain about our lives or, vent about it with a friend at lunch or something, but to get in and see what it really is, see at the core of what's going on so that we can shift it, that's a tough place for people to go. And to me, that's kind of why the charts are important because it's kind of sets the stage. So you can kind of see it's like, this is why your husband is the way he is. You know, he's not just being a jerk just to be a jerk. You know, there's certain qualities in his chart that aren't perceived how other people should be perceiving them, so to say. You know, this is a great example. I have a client up in Park City, and she called me after our appointment. She says, "Oh, you're going to get so flooded with calls. I have told all my friends and they're all going to call you." I haven't heard from anybody. But because when you go to tell your friend, "Oh, she told me this about my son and this about my husband and I'm sure their friends are like, "Are you kidding? I'm not going there. I don't want to put myself out there like that." And so you do kind of have to, you know, talk to people, build that trust with them. And hopefully I come across in a trustworthy way, in a compassionate way. I'm very empathetic. And I've, you know, we've all been through challenges, and I'm an open book, and I will share my journey. And it hasn't been easy, but it's easier for me to walk and talk my light because of what I've been through.
You touched on something that you and I have a mutuality on, and you were talking about going in and working with businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I do on a more intellectual, emotional, spiritual level is kind of work with small businesses and groups of people to kind of help them create those modalities in their business. Okay. Mm-hmm. So here's my question. You go into a business that sells cameras, okay, and there's 8 people working there. And one of those people is really toxic, okay? I mean, the minute you walk in the door, you just kind of feel your shoulder muscles and everything tense up. And I'm kind of giving you a compilation of stuff I've dealt with in the last couple of years. And the people that own the business say, "Yeah, but you don't understand. They're a really good performer," i.e. they contribute to the bottom line. Mm-hmm. Okay. So now they have enough enlightenment to bring somebody like you in. Is there anything you can do to diffuse that environment or to make it better when you kind of have this toxicity just kind of leaching out of one or more people?
You know, off the bat, it seems to me would be to really enhance and lift up everybody so that everybody feels empowered and strong. And when you feel like that, then you feel safer in creating boundaries. Boundaries are a tough thing for people. That's not something that, you know, our parents taught us, or that we're necessarily knowing how to teach our children how to create those healthy boundaries. Because when healthy boundaries are established, even those subconscious healthy boundaries, even those energetic boundaries, then that stuff doesn't penetrate you. It doesn't affect you. And so sometimes it's, you know, making sure that the space that you're working at, if you're sitting at a desk, that you're there sitting for a long period of time, that you're sitting in an auspicious direction, or a direction that suits you the best, that's supportive for you, that it's not draining your energy and weakening your energy field. And I always go back to the charts, because it's you know how you do the ropes courses, lots of businesses go off and do those team building ropes courses. That's kind of what these astrology charts do. And you can sit at a conference table or at a table with everybody there, the whole team, and you kind of see the gifts that everybody's bringing to the table. That too will diffuse the other kind of yucky stuff. Because it's like, wow, he's got this quality. He's the initiator of the group. And without him coming up with these great ideas, we wouldn't be able to implement them and bring them around in final completion. So it's really about finding the gifts in people and understanding maybe their weaknesses or their vulnerabilities in more of a compassionate way, because we really deserve to all be more compassionate and easier with each other. Because we don't know the whole story.
So quick $5 assessment on my part is, in a lot of respects, what you do is facilitate healing.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
That's a fair assumption. Okay. we're going to share the screen now, and hopefully this is going to work right. And what I'd like you to do is, you can be as open and honest, as brutal as you want. If you hurt my feelings, all I do is hit stop broadcast. Where did we go? Okay. So I'm going to share the screen now, and this is the north end of my office. Thank goodness my wife is at work. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Knock yourself out.
Okay, so I see the computer right up at the bottom of the screen here. Is that where you're sitting right now?
No, at the bottom of the screen. Yes, ma'am. That's where I'm sitting right now.
So you're facing this all day. This is what you're looking at.
Yep.
Okay, so who uses that other computer space there?
Me.
Okay. And then do you watch TV?
Yes.
Okay, so you're using all of that stuff.
Yes.
Okay. Are they usually turned on?
The computer when I need it. If you see to the right of the monitor, there is a little external hard drive, and I have a lot of older files on there. Okay. So I use that computer as needed. Mm-hmm. The TV is as needed. Honestly, sometimes I will listen to sporting events while I'm working. Mm-hmm. So,
well, okay. So what we're facing here is the north, and the north is your career. It's your life path. It's your journey through life, and it's also accentuated by the element of water. Okay. Right? Water is what gets us from here to there. Whether it's traveling or through communication or it's healing, like crying, water moves us. And so in order to move your energy in a direction that's supportive, or the direction that you want to be going, there seems to be a little bit of a wall up. Not just the wall that's there, but the kind of the planes that are kind of appearing in that space. You know, the little office unit, the computer desk there, it's got, a lot of stuff that you're storing in there and on top. Mm-hmm. And so even to like relieve some of that stuff and pull it off there so that you can see through it. And so it doesn't feel like such a block, because the TV and the stand that it's on is also quite a block, of a blocking of the energy. The thing that I'm most concerned about is because this is what you're looking at. And I know you spend a lot of time at your computer. And so this is the space that you're looking at. It appears to me that you're kind of lined up with that space between the two.
Okay. Which is a bunch of cables on the floor.
Yeah. So, one of the biggest rules of Feng Shui is just to simplify. Get rid of the clutter, tuck things away, not like cram things in cupboards tucked away, but organized so that everything is orderly. You know how to find something quickly. It has purpose to it. There's a lot of energy getting caught up, and it looks like you have a collection of things that sit on the top there. So even if you were, instead of spreading them all out, maybe cluster them in a couple little groups. Okay. So they didn't seem so full.
Okay.
Also, because of all the browns and kind of the creamy, what color is the wall there? I know it's hard to tell.
It's a cream. It tends towards the yellow.
Okay. So it's pretty accurate than what I'm seeing. The color of water is blue or black. So any shade of blue. It could be a vibrant blue or a deeper blue.
Okay.
And then the color black. So, anything that you could do to bring in some color blue here. Now, we don't want to necessarily have your office space where, because this is north, we're going to paint this blue, and this wall is going to be red because it's south, and this one's going to be green because it's east. I mean, we don't want to have, a preschool, colors going on in your office, because then it's a little too active. Mm-hmm. So even if you were to look around your office space and maybe find the things that are blue and black and bring those over there to decorate the top of the shelf, or find some blue bins that you can tuck CDs in.
Okay.
And hide those the cables and everything, because all of that kind of clutter, it kind of catches the energy. And so, the word we use is chi, and that's just another term for energy. Chi has a tendency, when it comes into a space, it's going to kind of hang low. And so when it hangs low, it gets caught up. I've often thought about hiring puppies when I go into somebody's home and bring a puppy in with me, because the puppy is similar to chi energy. There's no judgment. There's no expectation, nothing. They're just going to go wherever the attention is. Oh, there's something flashy over there. I'm going to go check that out. Or, oh gosh, there's some water running. I'm going to go get a drink. If a puppy comes in and it starts sniffing around and it finds something in the corner that's got its attention, it's going to stay there for a while. And so we want things to be cleared up off the floor so that the chi can be uplifted and so it can move around more freely.
Let me ask you a question. Okay, all the stuff on the top of that computer desk, all that stuff has significant meaning to me. For example, you see the Charlie Brown all the way in the back. My mom made that in a ceramics class when I was 10. Okay.
Wow.
She gave it to my brother has Snoopy, for those of you that are interested. And she took a ceramics class, and my brother and I each got that for Christmas. Okay. And my mom's 84 now. And so that's something that I've always had. The over on the far left, the captain sitting with the Chicago Cubs hat on top of it. My granddaughter gave me that a few years ago when she went to a festival and bought it from a street vendor, and thought it was pretty cool. Does grouping all that stuff that has emotional meaning? I mean, we could spend an hour with me telling you about everything that's on there.
Yeah, I would, definitely group those things. And if it is, if they have meaning to you, and I don't know what the rest of your space looks like. Do you collect things like on other shelves and stuff in your space?
No, that's pretty much where everything is, because that's the north wall. The south wall is behind me. Okay. I'm just trying to get my bearings here. The east wall is really a double closet. Okay. And I have some bookshelves in there. I have a lot of quote unquote business material in there. Okay. And the left wall, or the west wall, the one where you see the bulletin board on, I actually have, you can see in the lower left-hand corner, just the part of another stand.
Yes.
I have 2 printers and a record player on there. And then above that, there are 2 big windows. So that's where the natural light comes through into the room. So most of the stuff that's in that room is on that wall.
Okay. So that's already kind of weighted. You're putting extra weight on your career and your life path, and you're kind of bringing your family with you by placing those things there. Ideally, the family kind of memory stuff should be on the east side, and I don't know if, like, maybe next to your closet or something, you can do more of a tall vertical kind of shelving unit that you could maybe place those mementos in to kind of free up that. Actually, the corner that your like your bulletin board is, and where that stuff is, that's going to be the northwest.
Right.
And the northwest is more your spiritual life, travel, helpful people kind of energy. And so, like, anything that has to do with traveling, you could put in that space. Or if you have plans to travel, putting a map there with pinpoints of places that you want to make sure that you see there on your bucket list, or things that you've gathered from your travels, that kind of thing would go there. You might also want to be able to, look around your house, and you might have an image that you could bring in and maybe swap out although I'm not sure if your wife would want Jack lives here out in her living space.
No, no, no. There's a story behind that. I had a client who couldn't pay me. He was renovating a microbrewery restaurant bar, and he said, look, take one of these. We're not going to use them. Okay. So I turned the light's not normally on, but I turned it on so you could see it. By the way, my wife would be forever grateful if any of my viewers decided to take that off my hands.
Oh, okay. Maybe you can do a raffle or a drawing.
Yeah, something like that.
Because I would love to see that come down.
Okay.
And put something that's more like water, more like a stream, a photograph or a painting or something that represents movement of water.
Okay.
Not too rushing. And I hate to make too many suggestions because I haven't looked at your chart. I don't know where your water is in your space. But we need more direction rather than feeling like things are just kind of at a standstill up against that wall. Does that make sense how I'm saying that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Feel like a block.
Absolutely.
And if that's your life path, we want it to feel more like a portal, an energy movement over there. Do you have a fish bowl or a fish tank?
No, sure don't. There's a story behind that.
Okay.
But interestingly enough, when you're talking about the travel and things I've done on that bulletin board, and it's kind of hard to see, a couple of the things that are on there, one of them is the year before my third son, Paul, got married. He and I went to the 100th running of the Indianapolis 500. And one of those the tickets on there. I have stuff from my grandkids. That's really kind of a memento sort of bulletin board. So I'm going to stop the screen share, okay? And we will go back to, there we go. That was fascinating, and I think everything you said was spot on, okay? There was nothing that really surprised me there. Interestingly enough, when I look at it, and after reading that posting you had put out a couple days ago, and I kind of looked at it, I don't want to say I got a yucky feeling, but I kind of got a unsettled feeling just sitting back and kind of looking at it. Okay, so
that wall would be really nice, even with a large print like this, or a mural that is just a path of water, or even just a path that walks off into the woods or something. So you feel more expansive rather than just facing the wall and looking at the wall all day long.
We are almost out of time.
Yeah, it went fast.
Yeah. If we want to reach you, how do we reach you? I
have two websites. One is just my name. So it's www.tinafalk.com. And then I have a new, I'm also a Feng Shui teacher. So I train and certify practitioners. And that website is Feng Shui. Now, Feng Shui is spelled FENGSHUI via, VIA. So fengshuivia.me, M-E. So fengshuivia.me is the school website. And you can find me there. You can look up Tina Falk on Facebook. And I also have an Etsy page where I sell some things that I love to make.
You also have a Google Plus page.
Yes.
One last question for you.
Okay.
The whole world's watching you. I mean, potentially. You talked about walking through my house. Well, you're in Utah and I'm in Kentucky, and I want to work with you. No pun intended. How does that work?
That's a good question. It's actually more work on your part because you're going to have to walk through for me and take pictures and, send me a floor plan, and you're going to have to do a compass reading on your house for me. And I walk you through all of that stuff. In fact, I just met with a lady in Texas last night, and she had sent me great pictures. You kind of want to take pictures like if you're going to put your home for sale. Take a picture of your bedrooms and all the spaces, because I want to see where windows are and where furniture is placed. She even took a picture of just a shelf that she had things that she had collected, which was wonderful, because then I went back to that photo and I said, see that elephant you have there? Let's move that into this room over here. Or see this here? That's the color we need over here in this space. So that was very helpful. And that's also going to be kind of a two-part meeting. I want to do your charts. I love to do Skype, or hang out. It's so convenient. And sometimes people will take their laptop and walk around the house, and I'll be getting motion sick as they move through the house, but we'll figure it out, And I love the fact that, like Google Earth Maps, because I can get a bird's eye view of the property, plus I can get the street view and walk down the street and see the incline that the street you live on, or see what the people are doing across the across the street, what your neighbors are looking like. So it's kind of a virtual tour that I get right there.
That is so cool, to use a technical term. They also have those cameras now. I was stopped from buying one by someone whose name I won't mention, that actually strap around your head, kind of like a little band, and you can walk down the street with that camera on. And I was sitting there thinking, while you were talking, you could walk around your house and actually do a video. You might get vertigo, but that's so cool. What do you have coming up in the near future? You have anything coming up you'd like to talk to our audience about?
I'm kind of in just a little bit of a hiatus right now. Our house is under contract and we're moving in the next month. And so I kind of put things on hold. But one of the things that I'm really happy about is that Feng Shui awareness is growing here in Utah. And so I'm a member of the International Feng Shui Guild, and that's very important to me, that all practitioners are meeting, some standards and guidelines, so that, we're presenting ourselves in the best light that we can. And the Utah chapter here is growing, and it doesn't seem like much, but we actually have 6 members right now, and it's really kind of exciting. And we're a great group of women, and we're really supporting one another and presenting ourselves as a whole, because we don't need to be competitive. Each of us come in with our own unique, eccentricities and our specialties. And so the right client is going to find us. Clients aren't connected to everybody. And so we're about supporting one another in a non-judgmental way. And so we've kind of been doing some expos and doing some fairs and putting ourselves out there. And that's really exciting, because it's a way too for me to support my students and get them out there. And so I love to teach classes. I'm open to, creating a class if, make something up or create something specific for a certain group. I love it when people host a class at their home and then, bring all their friends or their family members. And then, coming up with products. I'll just keep doing that. I'm kind of inventive and want to come up with a more practical, efficient way to do things. Cool.
Thanks for joining us today.
Can I mention this real quick?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So this is the free download that you posted. That's the link. And this came from actually a client of mine. Her husband had moved his office home, and he moved his office into that first little room when you walk in the front door. Some people have that formal sitting area. Well, he put his office there. And I had suggested that he needed an open sign to put in his window. He doesn't get street traffic because he's in his home, he's in a neighborhood, and his clients wouldn't come to his house. It was an audio video company. But I said, we need to put his energy out there, that every morning he comes out here, he opens the blinds and turns that open sign to say, tell the universe, I'm open for business. And then that, that motivates his energy and the energy of outside. So as I was thinking about that, I thought, so many of us are entrepreneurs, like the people that you're working with, and so many of us work from home. And we don't have the storefront. We don't get the traffic flow for people to know who we are. I've even tried to set up local websites just to promote small businesses, the people like me. And I thought, why can't I have an open sign like I suggested for this man? So this download it's actually you just print it out in color or not. So when it's open flat, it comes out on an 8.5 by 11. All you do is cut the perimeter. Now, so here's your open sign. You can stick it up in the window. I punched a hole in mine and put a red string on it because red is auspicious and good luck in Feng Shui. It's also for protection. And so it says open for business. I can put this in my window so the people on the street can see it. I can hang it on my doorknob or the front door of my home, wherever I want to put it, because I'm just speaking my intentions. My intentions are that I'm open for business. So then when you flip it, instead of saying closed, it says thanks for a great day. Because if this is sitting in my window and I want other people to see open, I don't want to be reading closed on my side. Because that's telling my subconscious that I'm closed. That's mixed messages. I'm telling people I'm open, but I'm looking at closed. So I'm saying it's been a great day. So I'm constantly seeing that. And then when it's flipped over, because it is the end of the day, that the other people see, thank you, it's been a great day. And I'm seeing on this side, I'm still open for business, even though my hours are done for the day. Mm-hmm. So I thought this was just a fun thing. I'm going to use some glue stick right down the side here and seal this shut. And there's my open for business sign.
Thank you. That is so cool.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
I like to use so cool a lot. Okie dokie. Couple announcements before we end the broadcast. There will not be a Career Corner Hangout next Thursday. I am going to be at a live event all day. I'm speaking in 2 tracks on hiring in the year 2015 and stuff like that. So we're going to pick up 2 weeks from today. The second thing I want to talk to you about is, I don't know if you guys saw this or read it, got it in your email, but apparently there are some scammers out there who are calling entrepreneurs, small businesses, and they're representing Google. And they're saying they would like to sell you some apps and some services. And the article I read the other day said Google's categorically said, we don't do that. We don't get on the phone and call people. If you do, please report it. It is a scam. So, hope you enjoyed our show today. I'm John Jerkowitz, and I hope you all have a great day.